Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, 133-123. The Suns go down in Milwaukee, but the news never stops here in the Valley of the Sun, and a new Ringer piece dropped with details galore about what awaits the Suns this offseason. We'll break that down and the game next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back in to Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm Brendon, Kleen, a staff writer at Offseason, announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on a late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Don't forget, Locked On Suns is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button. Do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by the Locked On Daily newsletter. If you have not signed up already, go to lockedondaily.com. Type that email address in. Get free Suns news, NBA news, exclusive writing and fantasy advice, and more right to your inbox. And again, it's free. Joining me, as always, from the Wild West Valley, my fellow Suns credentialed media member. How are we feeling on this Tuesday night? A little earlier than normal, Ben Garcia.
Oh, my goodness. 4 o'clock start times. Give them to me every single day. It was a little tough toggling back and forth between the Diamondbacks and the Suns. But overall, this loss doesn't hurt like some of the other ones have. It's like, yeah, let's get to the offseason.
It did have that feel. I appreciate that the Suns did make it competitive. They went down 12 after that first quarter, but the second quarter, they fought back. Third quarter went a little lopsided again, and then fourth quarter, they fought back. So they at least made the most of the moments when Giannis was not in the game. And I know you want to talk through some of that, but I'll just shout out a positive here, and we will get to the news. That'll be the bulk of the show today. But the backcourt, I thought. I mean, really every guard played well today. Suns were 18 of 45 from three. They got 26 assists on 44 made baskets. Pretty solid. And between Book, Allen, Gillespie, and Tyus, those were the four dudes who were making stuff happen tonight. And I think that is nice to see because many of those players have not had their best seasons. But Book overcame, I think 4 or all 5 of his turnovers were in the first quarter. And he flushed that down the toilet and finishes with 39. Basically just those threes not going in, which has been a problem, as we talked about yesterday, was kind of the only blemish for him. Grayson in the starting spot, put points in, and Colin Gillespie, man. I continue to be really, really impressed with him. And I know we had the little, should they, up him into the main lineup, into the main roster, I should say, for the playoffs. That might not even come to bear. It might not matter because of the KD injury. They might not even get far enough for any of that to come into play. But man, I continue to believe like he's going to be a priority, lower down on the list, but a priority this offseason for the Suns to make sure he's on this team next year and beyond because he is really, really showing up.
Yeah, you mentioned the 3-point shooting from Booker, and I want to get to the Gillespie thing too in just a second, but do you think Devin Booker will ever develop a better semblance of a 3-point shot? Because how well is he? Like, again, it goes towards the Budenholzer thing. Like, if Booker can't form into Bud's system, which is run and gun and check up some threes,
yeah,
I mean, that might be
another
reason.
I don't think that that's what it is with Book. I don't think that it's something about Bud. I mean, yes, like the per game threes have gone a little bit up, so maybe there's a tiny bit of it, maybe 1 or 2 more threes, which is, where he was at around 6 last year, 7.5 this year. And that's like, it's about being specific with what we're talking about. Devin Booker is an elite catch and shoot 3-point shooter. Very good. You have a player set him up off the ball. He catches and makes a 3 with space, even not space, even contested. He's good. I have no qualms about that. The problem is it's not really the role that he plays. It's probably not the best role for him to play, to always be, spacing out in the corner or something. He's an elite creator. He's an elite playmaker. So you want him to be on the ball. And so It's what we saw tonight has been the blueprint or the recurring theme. He took a lot of pull-up threes because he was playing point guard basically most of the night, and he's playing against a big team that wants to send bodies at him. And one of the ways to break that type of defense down is to pull up and try to get one and dot him in the eyes. And so he's never been consistent with that. He does go on hot and cold streaks, and I think at this point that's probably just going to be true forever. That the pull up three, he's never going to be consistently elite at it. Otherwise, I think we would have seen it already.
45% on catch and shoot threes from Devin Booker. You'd think if that was some, which again is a sniper, that's elite. So you would think though from Bud, if there was some ability to play off that a little bit better, that means even tonight, if Booker isn't bringing up the ball up the court for most of the game. I just wanted to harp on that really quickly. And then again, the Colin Gillespie thing you had mentioned just really quickly as well. That maybe not so high up on the list of priorities for the Suns. I mean, outside of figuring out what you're doing with Kevin Durant and I guess maybe even Bradley Beal, if you believe that there is a chance that they can move him, which I guess there's always a chance. I mean, Gillespie's 3, right? Wouldn't he be the next?
I mean, the head coach, you got draft picks. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you're probably worried more about than this. But as far as the guys that are on the Suns who are free agents,
yeah,
I would think he's pretty high up there. Yeah.
Well, I only say that because like the Bud thing, I think that's a little bit different. I'm more talking about player personnel. Even with the draft, I mean, either way, you're going to draft at pick, whatever, 28 plus this year or whatever it is. I mean, you're still drafting there regardless if that's priority number 3 or 4. Like that's where I think Gillespie
I think he is
really
the highest priority of the players who are going into free agency that are on this roster. Because Dunn, Oso, Richards, Martin, those guys, you're keeping them if you want to keep them. They're under contract technically all for next year. Of the guys who could leave or could stay, Gillespie is probably the top of the list.
Yeah, I think he'd be the only one. Everyone that's a free agent this year, I think Gillespie would clear all of them. Like not just like getting them done, but I think he might be the only guy coming back.
Yeah, Bull maybe. We talked about Monte. I mean, maybe there's a chance that like if you don't keep Nick Richards, maybe you keep Mason Plumlee just around. But yeah, none of those guys matter.
And then again, just also in this game, we mentioned some of the good things, Gillespie and so with Booker, not exactly bad, but not. I mean, the 3-point shooting obviously wasn't there tonight. Man, they've got no answer down low. I mean, who has an answer for Giannis? But man, the Suns really don't have an answer. You could tell in this game tonight is where they obviously really missed Kevin Durant. The lengthiness, the ability to kind of slide over and add a little bit of help. But Richards was lost, man. Whoever it was they were throwing at him was just lost. And then his ability to, when they were crashing down on him, kicking out and finding the open defender, oftentimes in the corner. I mean, Giannis was a 3-level player today, whether it was defense, facilitating the basketball, or shooting or getting to the rim. But I mean, when you made up a good point that when he wasn't in the game, they kept it close. And honestly, I think it was commendable of the Suns that they did fight as hard as they did in this game. Doesn't really go that long of a way, but at least they did fight. Giannis tonight just squashed them. A one-man wrecking crew. And we kind of expected that, but Richards again, man, just getting bullied by Giannis again with everyone defensively.
And part of the
tonight.
issue, right, is like, especially with KD out, Richards can, even if he holds his own on a couple possessions or even like the first step or the first push that Giannis might give him, there's absolutely nothing on the back line behind him. I mean, Ryan Dunn's playing the 4. You got Cody Martin at the 4 even more often than that tonight because, no Royce O'Neal and no KD, although even Royce isn't much. So that's part of the trickle down effect that you see. And it's the same thing the Suns are running into in the finals where it's like, all right, well, Jay Crowder at the 4 works in some ways, doesn't work when DeAndre Ayton's trying to guard Giannis and he needs help at the rim and there's Jay Crowder's 6'6", right? So I think that's just that's what makes him so hard to guard, but that's also like just an obvious kind of roster thing that the Suns got to deal with. But yeah, he was plus 23. Bucks only won by 10. So when he wasn't out there, I mean, Suns more than held their own. So I don't know. I think this one was definitely not as ugly as it could have been.
No,
Even
I thought
without Damian Lillard, right?
I mean, exactly. That was another thing too. Like the Bucks are missing their second best player. The Suns are missing their best player, but still, like both teams were injured. But you felt like the Bucks, I mean, still had something to play for, like obviously. But you thought the Suns' spirit going into this was going to be broken. So I don't know who you give that credit to. Bud for getting them ready to play, Booker for not wanting to go down without a fight, or I don't know, the young guys just getting another chance, or Grayson Allen, who I thought played one of his better games of the season tonight. Like his ability to go out there and hit the 3-point shot. Well, he hit 6 threes, but still there was some points where he wasn't great, but one of his better
that's
plays
one of
tonight.
the higher point totals of his season.
So him coming in and showing what, some of the flashes of last year, Grayson Allen, like that was nice, but I mean, a loss is a loss, not a lot of moral victories, but I was impressed that they didn't just roll over. They did give it a little, even towards the end, it was a little dicey, not very, but a little. So, I mean, credit to that, but I mean, it kind of went as you and I both thought it was going to go. Bucks were going to win. So,
yeah.
Oh, well.
All right. Logan Murdoch was in Phoenix reporting a piece for The Ringer that had some nuggets in it that continue to paint a picture of what the offseason could look like here in the Valley for the Suns. We'll get there next. First, today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Baseball season's in full swing. I'm hoping the Padres are still undefeated by the time you guys are listening to this, but, no promises. I won't trash talk too much, but either way, I hope you're spending it at Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports across all sports, but baseball season honestly is one of the cooler ones to use because all you got to do at Prize Picks is pick more or less and you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's just 2 to 5 players in your lineup and it's just you versus those Prize Picks player projections. So let's say you take the easy one. You go more home runs for Aaron Judge and for Shohei Ohtani, and maybe you go more stolen bases for Corbin Carroll. It doesn't have to be cute. It doesn't have to be crazy. All you got to do is be right. You can set a lineup in less than 60 seconds and watch those earnings, those winnings pile up. So download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after that first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, Ben, let's keep it rolling here. Dive into this piece over at The Ringer that had some exclusive reporting from Devin Booker, from people around Kevin Durant, from league sources even. And I think let's get the part that we knew out of the way, Ben, which is Booker reiterating that he wants to stay here. He's now told this to ESPN, to anyone who's asked for most of the time he's been here. This has been his consistent answer, but he doubled down and said that it's meaningful to him and sticking it out is great. But he also said he doesn't want to be around for a rebuild. So sort of at least some pressure. I'm not just staying here, no strings attached, do whatever you want, and I'm along for the ride. I'm here to win. Let's keep trying to win was the message that he was sending.
Yeah, I thought, the direct quote when I was reading that story this morning was, "I'll never be in a rebuild again." Am I mistaken there?
No, yeah.
So that's the direct quote from Booker, not saying like he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. He said, "I'll never be a part of one again," which I agree with you, does hold some feet to the fire to the Suns of like, hey, listen, I want to be here. But what I think is even more interesting is that Booker, went on and basically double and triple down with this. And basically it said like, there's no, there's no place like the place that drafts you. And I would be really curious where that comes from. And if I was a reporter, I would literally ask the question, like, how do you know? Like, I don't know, like LeBron won a championship somewhere else. Like, and I'm not saying that it's not better here. I'm not saying that winning with the team that drafted you isn't something that is obviously a miraculous achievement, but I would love to know who told him that, because it couldn't have been Kobe. Like Kobe didn't stay. Kobe stayed with one team his entire career, but he doesn't know what it would have been like somewhere else. So I'd be curious where his motive is for that. But also it comes to me like there was I love it here, but Brendon, what if the Suns say, hey, man, we want you here, but we want to rebuild?
Well, I think a couple things. One, I think part of what his comments are there are to say that he sees himself as the caliber of player that sort of prevents a rebuild, right? Like you can't ever be awful if Devin Booker's on your team. I think that's part of, the Blazers never got the first overall pick. They got Shaedon Sharpe, they got whatever, but Damian Lillard is at least going to get you to 30 wins. You're never going to bottom out. And so I think that is a little bit of reading between the lines of what he was saying. I think part of what he was meaning there. The other part is, like, I think the reality is that the way I see it, the Suns can't truly rebuild unless they trade Devin Booker. So there's not really a world where they're able to get enough assets for it to even feel like a rebuild with what they currently have. Kevin Durant's not getting you the jackpot piece. Like, what's the best asset we've talked about with Kevin Durant? It's maybe the Suns' own pick back this year. Maybe it's Khalil Ware in Miami. Maybe it's whatever. That's not, all right, we got our next cornerstone. We're rebuilding around such and such and Booker. It's like, all right, let's see what Booker can be with a little bit of a younger, more athletic supporting cast. And probably eventually the idea would be with that type of a reset, all right, we're going to dip back in, whether it's free agency or trade, on whatever the next superstar might be who wants to come to Phoenix, who maybe is a little closer in age to Devin Booker. But I guess I just don't think it's that conflicting with where maybe Matt Ishbia's head's at, because I just don't really see a version of this summer where the Suns are rebuilding. So I guess that's kind of how I would answer your question, is like, I don't think they'll say that to him, because I don't think they can.
I think if Devin Booker isn't traded this offseason, I don't think he's ever going to get traded in his like prime. Like when he's 36, 37, like Dwayne Wade didn't finish his entire career with Miami. But here's why I say that. Here's why I set it up. Do you think Devin Booker is going to get better? Or do you think what Devin Booker is now is like, this is it, which is an all-star player, and Hall of Famer, one of the best twos in the NBA. I'm not discrediting Devin Booker, but never a one. Like, do you think he's ever going to get better? And then I have a follow-up question.
I don't think he's going to become a different player.
Okay. So if that's the case,
I don't
wouldn't
think
this
anyone
be
would think that.
Okay, no, it wasn't a trick question.
Yeah.
So then don't you think, if you're the Suns, that this might be the year where you can maximize Booker's value? And don't you think that they would really look at that? Like if you know he's not going to get any better, and the only thing you're really wrestling with is that he's your guy. I mean, man, more and more I think about it, I'm like, this could be the all-time hauls of all-time hauls, trading Devin Booker away. Get more than what they got for Rudy Gobert, which people forget was a heist at the time.
Yeah, forget Gobert. You're going to get back more than what you gave for Durant. You're going to get back more than, you're probably talking about like the Anthony Davis trade or something along those lines.
Yeah,
less than
that.
He's
somewhere around that. So if you think that, because like next year, what if Devin Booker has a similar year to this year? Are you still getting the same package?
I think it's less about him, what he is. I think people kind of know what he is. I think it's really just how many years does he have left on his contract and how old is he? I think those are really the factors at this point.
So 29 next year.
I don't think people are going to go, oh, he's worse because he had a bad three-point shooting season, Like even if he had two in a row where he's at, just can't make those pull-up threes and is taking too many of them, which, we've established is kind of the real main thing right there. I think, to me, you're right. I can't argue with anything you're saying. I have been sort of making that case when we've talked about it off camera for a while. That said, they're not trading him unless he asks for it.
Absolutely.
It's just not going to happen.
So where's your barometer at of percentage-wise that you think Booker will ask for a trade?
5, 10? I don't think it's
okay.
happening.
We're still both there. He's not going anywhere for now.
Just to set the table. Matt Ishbia and Devin Booker, in the most direct and concrete possible terms, have now both gone on the record saying that this is absolutely not happening this summer. If either of them change their mind, it would be in about a month or two, and they'd be lying to our faces. It just doesn't happen. Like, it's not going to happen. It would be insane, and they would both get mocked off the face of the planet if that were to happen. Like, they didn't need to say this stuff. So, I didn't say 0. I said 5-10.
Yeah.
But in the event that 5 to 10% actually came to be, those guys would be the biggest jokes in the league and in the Valley. You can't do that. Nobody made them. Nobody held a knife to their face and made them say this. You went and talked to Tim McMahon and Logan Murdoch saying, no, zilch, not going to happen. Don't even ask. So, I mean,
it's
pretty good at that this summer. It's not going to happen.
I don't think you're wrong at all. Something makes me raise an eyebrow a little bit on why they're so adamant that he's going to stay, because for the same reason that you just said so, they don't have to. But in all actuality, they keep coming out and saying, we're not going anywhere, which is interesting to me that the Suns continue to back themselves in this corner. I know Devin Booker's not going anywhere, but you don't have to tell me that, because there is a scenario, Brendon. Now, Devin Booker's his own man, right? But there is a scenario, Brendon, where some team offers a ridiculous, insane, like here. Rockets win the draft lottery. They get the number 1 overall pick. They decide they don't want to see if Cooper Kupp's a boom or bust or somewhere in the middle player. They want an absolute, no doubt about it, number 2 in the NBA, and they trade Cooper Flag for Devin Booker, just straight up. Like,
yeah. Well,
you would take that deal.
Yes, but they're not going to do that. That's
No,
unrealistic.
that's again, but that's not my point. You're saying it's unrealistic. I'm saying there's a 1% chance of it happening. I'm curious why Ishbia continues
that and Cooper Kupp
put
plays
himself
in the NFL is the other.
Did I say Cooper Kupp?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, both white dudes named Cooper.
Go ahead.
But either way, like, let's say that happened. It does. Sorry, I'm laughing at Cooper Kupp, but it does make why would you put yourself in that box? I understand why Booker would. But you do have a way of pissing off fans. I'm not saying of course, I don't want Devin Booker to be traded, but like,
well, my answer to that
should be on
is
the
because of what just happened in Dallas this season. Booker's not Luka, but Matt Ishbia is not an idiot. Hey, I came being the promiser of all that is great and fulfilling your every dream as an NBA and Suns fan, and I'm going to give you what no one else ever has. In the 50-plus years this team's been here, I'm going to be the guy to give you a championship. And then the bottom falls out. And then on top of that, now you don't even get the guy you love, who's the most beloved, sports figure in this city since Fitzgerald was at his peak. Like, you can't do that. I mean, that is a bridge too far, I think. So even if that's
a good thought exercise,
not like the most analytical way of putting it, like, these are people and this is, sports, like fandom and fan favorites. I think that stuff matters. Now, next summer, obviously we got a long way to go, but the clock is ticking, and that never can change after another season of being really, really pissed off.
Well,
right?
What does that mean? Wait a second. What does that mean then? What do the Suns have to be next year? We know they're not going to be title contenders. Let's get that out of our brain. We know they're not going to be a top 3 seed, but what do they got to be?
Well, let's talk about it in the next segment, because Kevin Durant factors very heavily into that, and his future was discussed in this Ringer piece as well, and the idea of maybe it's not a given that he's gone. We'll get there next. First, today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Well, we all do. Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, though. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start actually building wealth. The best thing about Monarch Money is the all-in-one convenience, all right? Because we all have this app, that subscription, this service we pay for, whatever it might be, this advisor we go see in some random office building across the city, a pad of paper, a mental checklist, all these things. What Monarch Money does is it puts that all together so you can check your finances, track spending, and even plan out your long-term goals all in one place. So take control of your finances right now with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's MONARCHMONEY, monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right, closing out the show. Ben, you got quite the face. What's going on? The D-backs getting demolished? What's going on over there?
I can't tell you what I just saw. I can't. I just saw. No, I can't. I can't do it because people. I laughed at it and people are gonna think I'm a terrible human being. But I just.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
I'll have to tell you after the show, but it was something that someone did.
All right. So 2 things from the Durant side of this story from Logan Murdoch that stood out. One, the detail from some of these TV captured confrontations, conversations, whatever you want to call them, with Mike Budenholzer, which Logan reported, quote, sources say Durant was pleading with his coach to simplify the team's offensive concepts to something better suited to the Suns' younger players. So let's just start there because that obviously kind of factors into how we're thinking about Bud and his future. I gotta say, this has been a through line with KD for everywhere he's ever been, except for when he was in Golden State running a very complicated offense with a bunch of veterans who were genius basketball players who could handle that. Outside of that situation, he has always wanted to play very simplified offensive basketball, and that's fine. I think there are some benefits to it, maybe especially with young guys. I mean, Nick Richards, as just one example, seems very behind in a lot of possessions, having to process as much as he's having to process. But that's not what Mike Budenholzer is as a coach, and that's not what you were signing up for. Not that KD hired him, but like that's just not what it was going to be. And I don't think that it's just always better to reduce the game down to such simplicity all the time, especially as he's aging. I just think that that didn't feel like I'm fully on KD's side on that one, if I'm being honest.
I wish we disagreed. What do you mean the offense is too complicated? Like I don't understand. You have young players on the court. I mean, are they not smart enough to pick up the offense? What do you want to do? It feels like Durant is saying, just run the offense through me because I'm awesome. And throw the ball to me in not the low post, but the elbow, mid-range, fine. Let me just cook. I don't think that is a recipe for success for the Suns offense. So I thought the same thing when he was pleading with Bud. Like, I'd be annoyed if I was Bud. Like, well, you want me just to cater my entire offense just towards you? Or
what especially when that was the criticism last year of Vogel and Kevin Young and the way that they weren't maybe setting him up for success, setting Durant up for success themselves, because his isolation numbers were really high, especially in games when Book and or Beal weren't out there. KD was just kind of on an island, and the results weren't always pretty. I feel like the whole thing we were talking about all summer was that Bud was being brought in to add some layers and make life easier on those guys. So it just feels a little bit at odds with the whole point of what the season was supposed to be. It's like, well, it was simple and it didn't work. That's kind of what we're trying to figure out here, you know?
Well, I would love to get a deeper, like, this is one of the few things that I would actually like to DM Kevin Durant about is, what do you mean by that? Because if it's just running picks near the elbow or at the top of the key and dribble driving and pick and rolling your way to the basket each and every time, like, that's redundant. At some point, the other team's going to adjust. You have to be able to have a coach that is creative on offense. Like, that is the whole point of the NBA now, where it's more possessions, more creativity, score the ball more often. Teams aren't playing defense. It feels like it's just more about like me. I'm really awesome. Me and Booker, you know what? Fine. I won't even throw Kevin Durant under the bus. Me and Booker are really awesome. Just give us the ball and go shoot it, and we'll get you points. Like, I mean, we kind of did try that in 2023, and it didn't really work either. So
yeah.
It almost feels like a slap in the face to the younger guys. Like, oh, they're not smart enough to pick this up, because I don't see Oso as a not very smart player. I don't see Tyus Jones as a not very smart player, or Grayson Allen. Like, there are no one on there where I'm like, oh yeah, that's a weak link right there. So I just
Richards,
didn't understand
I think
it,
it's
man.
fair to say, as I mentioned him.
Richards, Plumlee, Nurkic. That's fair.
Well, young guys, right? So we're talking about young guys. I think
okay.
Richards is the one that feels fair to me, and maybe Ryan Dunn to a degree. I think that he probably needs to do a little less of the stuff he can't do and a little more of the stuff he can do, and he gets stuck in the middle of that sometimes, where all of a sudden he's in no man's land, kind of has the ball, not sure, not any sort of great passer or anything yet. And I can understand some elements of it, but I think that the problem that I look at is just, especially now that we have 3 years of evidence, that I feel comfortable saying that Kevin Durant is one of the factors that prevents the Suns from playing fast. Playing fast is one of the best ways to simplify things. If you're getting down the court, De'Aaron Fox isn't doing a whole lot of complicated. John Wall wasn't reinventing how offense looks in the NBA. They're just doing their thing. And you don't even have to be those guys, of course. Like, I'm being extreme, but that is frustrating to hear in this article. But then when you watch the team, they're very, very slow, and they get themselves they're facing a set defense, and they're just not really in a position to play simple offense, where now they have to set a bunch of screens and go through all these steps to get open shots because of what I just said. So, all right. That was one chunk that obviously we'll talk more about as the coach situation comes into clarity and whatever the team might look like next year. But that leads us to this chunk that I think got spread around the most, which was the book isn't closed on Durant returning to the Suns next season. League sources suggest Durant would be eligible to return on a 2-year, $122 million extension this offseason, would be open to a return. Booker said, hell yeah, I want to play alongside him. That's the NBA today, that we've had a bad year. Kevin understands the business too. Things aren't going the right way. People are going to explore things. I don't know how seriously it was at the deadline, but we moved past it. You can see his morale. You can see how he feels about the city. Obviously, I paraphrase there. But I saved this for the end. This is obviously kind of the biggest news of this whole thing, Ben. But I got to say, I just don't really buy that this is really going to happen. So
giant eye roll. One giant eye roll. Sorry, continue.
I think it's saying the right things. It's trying to just kind of business as usual. Let's not be dramatic. Let's not cause problems. But here's the thing. I listened to the Bill Simmons podcast today where Zach Lowe made his triumphant return to NBA media. And the first time that the Suns came up, Zach Lowe said, well, everybody knows Kevin Durant's getting traded this summer. And Brian Windhorst has said that. Everybody says that in the media. I'm going to listen to them. I'm not going to listen to this article and what Booker said to maybe, look good.
I think Kevin Durant said what he said because when he inevitably gets traded.
Let's be clear. He didn't say anything.
Okay.
It says league sources suggest Durant would be open to a return, and then Booker is quoted. I'm just saying, let's be fair. He didn't say anything on
Kevin Durant didn't say that exactly. But someone told them that Kevin Durant said that. Now, it doesn't matter.
Maybe that's his agent. Maybe that's his freaking uncle. Who knows? Whatever.
It could be that one dude on Twitter. I forgot his name. He's got big sources with KD, bro. I don't know if you know that, but it was like the whole Kevin Durant thing. Like, I do think him putting this out there through back channels. I think it's him, and I think it's smart of him to be like, hey, remember, when I get traded, it wasn't me. I didn't ask for that. I've only ever asked for one trade. I've only been traded one other time. Well, technically, I think the Brooklyn one was a sign and trade. I think this is him being like, putting out there to everyone, don't hold it against me because I'm kind of sensitive. I didn't do this.
Yeah, well, I don't even care about being sensitive because he's right.
Yeah, no, he is right, but he
so
cares
we don't have
what
to talk
people
about
think
him
about
being sensitive because they
I do think that is
disrespected him
it.
in February. I don't see how that's relevant.
LeBron doesn't say that. I'm saying Kevin Durant does say that because Kevin Durant knows that it's going to get out there and he's trying to get out in front of it. I'm not going after him and saying it's a bad thing.
And LeBron definitely leaks crap. Okay, LeBron definitely gets a league sources say that LeBron James blah 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 to try to control the narrative.
Yes, of
and
course.
So I think KD's doing that, but I think it is absolutely a fact that Kevin Durant did not put himself into this situation. Matt Ishbia tried to trade him to his buddies in Golden State. He found out through the grapevine from the wrong end of that trade, and the season fell apart. He holds blame for the season side of that, of course. But I don't think it – I think it is 100% true to say that Kevin Durant so far has not contributed to himself being in the trade market, in the trade rumors.
100%.
Okay.
All I'm saying is Kevin Durant puts it out there because he wants to get ahead of everyone saying he's a team hopper. He's not. He demands trades. He doesn't. He's only done that once, and every superstar player gets a mulligan there. I'm just saying this is him putting it out there. So when everyone tries to say, oh, he asked for another trade, oh, he wants to be gone, oh, he's a team hopper, oh, he's a cancer, it wasn't him. And I agree, it was not him. It was the Suns who put them out there in trade rumors. And he said again he wanted to be here and finished out with his team. So all I'm saying, like, I think that plays a part of it in Kevin Durant trying to get in front of the media and the narrative. That's where I'm at with it.
But I guess, like, the only reason I made the distinction is he is getting in front of it to make sure the truth is still
100%
the right story, right?
And what I don't,
whereas some guys try to manipulate it to be like, my story is going to be the story. I think in this case, the truth is the story. That's what he wants, 100%. And I think that's totally fair.
I think it's totally fair too. I'm just saying that it doesn't matter what he says. People that are going to clown Kevin Durant are always going to say, team hopper, cancer, can't win without Curry. Trade, ask for 15 trades when we all know that stuff's not true. Yeah. What I think Kevin Durant needs to learn is I'm never going to think that, but whoever it is going to do that to control and spin their own narrative. So that's where I'm coming with it. I'm not just calling Kevin Durant sensitive, and also being sensitive isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just is what he is.
Yeah, I think it has a negative connotation. So I just know that people are going to hear that. I'm just trying to talk it out so that we don't leave it at that. That's all. I just feel like
I'm very offended.
What is going on and whatever is all I'm trying to get to, because I think that but let's also say this though. At this point, similar to what did happen at the deadline, if he didn't want to get traded, he wouldn't, right? So like that there is going to probably have to be a certain level of, if Durant, for instance, lets everybody know what teams he wants to go to. Well, he is sort of cooperating, right? Like, so I think that it is this kind of weird gray area. And I do think that, like, it's worth parsing what everybody's kind of angle is on it. But I just think right now, the facts of the situation are the Suns tried to trade him. They suck. And A plus B equals C. The rest of the league expects that they'll try to trade him again.
Yes. I think being cooperative is different than demanding a trade. And I know you think that too. But
yeah,
I mean, like, I guess you're saying he's not saying I want to trade, but he's not saying he doesn't want to trade.
Yeah.
And by saying
this weird, like, what do you call it? How do you describe that? But that's basically what we're looking at, because that's what this article was getting at. It's like, well, the whole league expects the Suns to trade him. The only way they don't, I think, is if he actively asks to stay. That's sort of where we're at. And so it is a weird backwards thing where now the ball kind of is in his court, even though he didn't ask for it. Like, it's just, it's an odd thing. And maybe he did sort of ask for it by declining the trade to the Warriors. Maybe you could kind of say that, but yeah, it's going to be a lot of, I think, reading between the lines and parsing these very vague types of source reports and everything from now until either he's gone or opening day of next season, because that's how this stuff works.
Do you want to take a quick stab at where you think he goes?
I mean, you asked me this the other day at the game.
Does it change?
I haven't gotten any information.
Does it change?
No, it doesn't change at all. We haven't heard anything about any teams even liking him or anything.
Let me just feel the temperature in the room. Oh, that was interesting. You didn't like that, though. You called that the Bleacher Report clickbait special.
No. That was from Brett Siegel at Clutch Points that originally reported that, and he seems to be decently plugged in. So
maybe I'm thinking of something different.
I mean, you were talking about like a mock trade, but I'm saying there was an actual report of the Spurs being interested that I saw that was from Brett.
No,
so.
we're not helping the Spurs. Can we just agree there? We're not helping the Spurs. It's not happening.
Yeah, I have no guess on where he's going right now.
He's going to Real Madrid.
He'd probably ball out over there.
He did average
EuroLeague MVP.
He would average 70 points a game.
Yeah, he would. All right, that'll wrap us up. Hit, follow, or subscribe if you have not already. We will be back as the Suns continue this East road trip. We got a couple off days until then. Keep it right here, and we'll talk to you next time.